Now, with evidence that climate change has played a significant role in the Los Angeles fires, new figures show that last year was the hottest year since records began. The EU's climate monitoring body, Copernicus, found temperatures were 1.6 degrees higher than the pre-industrial average. It said the Paris Agreement target of 1.5 degrees to avoid the worst effects of global heating was in danger of being permanently breached. Let's speak to climate scientist Ella Gilbert, who works in the Antarctic. Ella, I mean, looking at the pictures from Los Angeles and hearing this number, how worried are you?
Yeah, I mean, the report you just showed was really heart-wrenching, and it shows exactly what's at stake here and exactly what we're talking about. I mean, scientists like me are quite used to seeing the numbers and seeing the data, but it's quite rare that you get such a compelling and emotional way to relate those numbers to what it actually means for people and their lives. The 1.5 degree target is what we would consider safe, and we've seen the first calendar year where temperatures were on average across the world 1.5 degrees above our pre-industrial limit. That doesn't necessarily mean that we've breached the Paris Agreement, because that's a more multi-year average, but it means that we're well on the way to it. And actually, we're already seeing really devastating extreme events like the wildfires in LA, like the floods we saw in Valencia last year, like the changes that we're seeing in Antarctica. We had really, really low sea ice last year and the year before, and it demonstrates how comprehensively we are changing our climate for the worse.
I suppose the last thing you want people to think when they hear 1.5 degrees has been exceeded is that it's all lost, it's all futile. This is just 1 year, and the target was regarding, as you say, a 20-year average. But what could be done, say, in the next 2 years to really make a difference?
Absolutely, and every single fraction of a degree of warming makes a difference, and every little difference that we can make that reduces emissions makes a difference. It basically means that every action that we can take, whether that's urging governments to take stronger action to reduce national or international carbon emissions, that matters. Individual actions, all of those matter. And ultimately, it has to be coming from all different sectors of society. It has to come from governments, from organizations, from businesses, all of us. And every single fraction of a degree makes a difference towards that target. And it's really clear from the sorts of events that we've seen in LA or elsewhere last year that every single tenth of a degree makes a difference for the number of extreme events, the number of fatalities, the number of houses lost. All of these things matter, and there are tangible actions that we can take. We know what we need to do. We need to reduce emissions. We need to implement adaptation plans so that we know what to do in the response to these sorts of events. We know what we need to do, and it's just a matter of actually doing it.
In 5 seconds, it's not too late then, Ella Gilbert?
It's not too late. It's never too late to take action.
OK, thank you very much for your time, Ella Gilbert, climate scientist.
Migrants heading from Africa towards the EU often take what's called the Central Mediterranean route from Tunisia and Libya towards the islands of Italy and Malta. But before embarking upon this dangerous boat crossing, many of them have already travelled thousands of miles from countries like Eritrea and Somalia over there in the east of Africa towards other nations in the west of the continent. The EU's border agency called Frontex estimates that some 31,500 breaches from migrants making their way through this route happened so far this year, taking place in the southern shores of Italy. And so far, just 17,000 have arrived on the island of Lampedusa alone. In fact, Frontex estimates that a fifth of all EU border breaches occur via the central Mediterranean route. So the peak crossing period for migrants and asylum seekers towards Italy runs from May to September. And this is the route that they take, either leaving points in Tunisia in the north there, only 180 kilometres away from the island of Sicily and the capital, Palermo. However, that is keenly policed. And they also take this route here towards Lampedusa, which is only 225 kilometres away. The journey, of course, comes at a hefty human cost. So far, the UNHCR has recorded some 40 deaths in just the first 6 months of 2013. Nina Dos Santos, CNN, London.
The Commission's package on migration and asylum, which we present today, offers a fresh start. Many legitimate interests have to be brought into balance. We want to live up to our values and at the same time face the challenges of a globalized world. Europe has to move away from ad hoc solutions and put in place a predictable and reliable migration management system. I'm convinced that the Commission's proposal is a good foundation for that. This package reflects a fair and reasonable balance between responsibility and solidarity among member states. We all share the benefits. We all share the burden. This package also reflects a very pragmatic and realistic approach. We know that we have to build trust among member states and citizens' confidence that we can manage this as a union. The package reflects the complexity of the issue as it brings together all aspects of migration, border management and screening, asylum and integration, return and relations with external partners. It is not a question whether member states should support with solidarity and contributions, but how they should support. Moria is a stark reminder. We need to find sustainable solutions on migration, and we all have to step up. The European Union has already proven in other areas that it can take extraordinary steps to reconcile diverging perspectives. We have created a complex internal market, a common currency, and an unprecedented recovery plan to rebuild our economies. It is now time to rise to the challenge to manage migration jointly with the right balance between solidarity and responsibility.
As these people continue their desperate attempts to look for a better life, Britain's Prime Minister described them as a threat, as if they were wasps preying on humans.
You've got a swarm of people coming across the Mediterranean, seeking a better life, wanting to come to Britain because Britain has got jobs, it's got a growing economy, it's an incredible place to live, but we need to protect our borders by working hand in glove with our neighbours.
David Cameron's comments were met with an outcry from the opposition as well as rights groups.
It's extremely disappointing to hear the Prime Minister using such irresponsible and ultimately dehumanising language.
The visual representation in the media, what people see, the Operation Stack, that gives a completely false impression. Numbers are far greater going to many other European countries.
A UN representative accused Britain of not dealing responsibly with the crisis. Last year, the UK received 24,000 asylum seekers, while Germany took in more than 6 times as many. Cameron's government is strongly opposed to the EU's plan to set migrant quotas to share the burden more equally among member states.
This is the guy. This is him. He just tried to walk into a girl's house on the IOD. We watched her chase him. Now he's trying to cover his face. Look.
Please. We caught you, mate. We caught you. We caught you.
There are disused army bases that could be used. I personally have no issue with porter cabins or tents being used at all. There are disused army bases that could be used. I personally have no issue with porter cabins or tents being used at all. This is still perfectly acceptable accommodation that can be used in a short-term interim measure as long as we deliver on the policy that we have said to do, which is to make sure after 28 days people are to be removed to a safe third country such as Rwanda.
For more than 20 years, scientists have known that a swarm of killer bees has been headed towards the United States. Now, Warner Brothers presents Irwin Allen's The Swarm.
We have visual contact.
Identify.
A black mass, sir. A moving black mass.
We have been invaded by an enemy far more lethal than any human force.
Starring Michael Caine, Catherine Ross, Richard Widmark, Richard Chamberlain, Olivia de Havilland, Ben Johnson, Lee Grant, Jose Ferrer, Patty Duke Aston, Slim Pickens, Bradford Dillman, Fred McMurray, and Henry Fonda.
Get inside! Get inside! Quickly get inside!
A story of courage and sacrifice.
Newman! Go for it, Joe! Move out!
Not since the 30s, when families by the thousands fled the Oklahoma Dust Bowl, has a thriving American community had to be totally evacuated. Until today.
Its size is immeasurable. Its power is limitless. Its enemy is man.
The war that I've always talked about has finally started.
Mile by mile, city by city, it moves, leaving in its wake a path of destruction.
For God's sake, Crane, when are we going to stop this massacre?
Irwin Allen's The Swarm. It is more than speculation. It is a prediction. The Swarm is coming.